Welcome to tonight's Power 5 preview edition of the Klown podcast. I'm Scott Burks. Please check me out on www.theklowntimes.net. You can check me on Facebook as well. So your laptop, desktop, mainframe, hell, wherever you are, you can find me there as well. I'm dating myself by saying the word.
Yeah, mainframe, yes.
Anyway, also please go to the. Speaking of which, go to get the merch at cafepress.com, search Klown Time Sports. And last but not least, please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'm over 500 subscribers right now, and I want to get to 1,000 by year's end. So I'm well on my way to that goal. So please see, like, comment, share, subscribe. Even if you want to be petty and talk junk about what out of us going to say tonight, hell, we'll go there with you. So hey, it's all good. Just go to comment, share, subscribe. The overcome those algorithms will be good. You'll be good. So anyway, speaking of Power 5 preview special, we're going to start with the SEC. AKA the Beast, AKA the Southeastern Conference. You see my partner on my left. Y'all know him from past podcasts. He was on the audio only podcast before. He made his video appearance last year around the first round of realignment that shook the world when his beloved SEC took Oklahoma and Texas, at least accepted them into membership for I think 2024, but we'll get into that later. Y'all know him, the mouth of the South, the SEC elitist, the Alabama apologist, the Nick Saban worshiper, my man, my college buddy, one of my brothers for life, Cedric Hall. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's up, man? What's going on?
Okay, man, I got so much to tell at you about what transpired the last maybe two months, I guess. I thought about you. So we're going to talk from realignment to, speaking of which, the aforementioned the great Nick Saban, and we want to preview this upcoming season. Get your preview and see how the season's going to shake. It's going to be pretty interesting. So we're going to start with realignment. We like I mentioned earlier during the introduction. We talked last year. I had my partner here, Dwayne Nash, too. We hollered at you about Oklahoma, Texas being accepted to your beloved SEC, which I thought was huge.
Yes.
And to the point where we figured, hey, it's going to go towards super conferences. And what does the Big Ten do? The not so Big Ten, as I like to call it, did do in response. They took two Los Angeles-based teams out of Los Angeles, California, UCLA and USC. I should say USC, UCLA. So I know why the Big Ten did it. I know why USC and UCLA did it. But to me, it doesn't make any damn sense as far as logistics. Okay, you're going to ask in the middle of the week for a volleyball team to go, if you're at USC, to go to Rutgers on the Wednesday night.
Right.
That's just crazy to me. But anyway, I thought about you when the Big Ten made the move, which I feel was in response to what the SEC did year before.
Right.
So the floor is yours, brother.
And I think, you touched on the volleyball aspect of it. If you look at it from a football perspective, it was the best play out there. I mean, could you have gone to the ACC and got, Clemson, Miami, possibly, maybe, but I don't know that from a TV market standpoint, I'm looking at strictly TV dollars, that was the best move out there for the big is what's going to happen with these two schools. I was thinking more of a the best of the Pac-12 and the best of the what's left of the Big 12 would somehow align themselves, and then you have a still have a Western footprint. You mentioned that, hey, what happens in the middle of the week when a volleyball team or women's basketball or men's has to travel to Rutgers or Rutgers to LA to play a game. And I don't think people are really talking about that enough, because the money that you are making from this deal, look how much you will have to expend in travel
alone. Right.
alone, just to, I mean, from LA to, LA to East Coast, that's a 5.5 hour flight.
Right.
That's not something that you could necessarily do by, by bus or whatever, and even, it's, the majority of, even in looking at Alabama, the majority of the games, majority of the conference games are going to be, within the Southeast, yeah, there are a number of games that are, most of the games obviously will be, air travel, but, there's still a few games that we still, whether it be Auburn, whether it be Mississippi State, Starkville is only 45 minutes away. So there are just there are a few games on the schedule that are really, that you can still get to by bus.
Right.
But for the most part, man, that travel budgets are going to be
It's
ridiculous.
gonna go through the roof, brother. I
Yeah,
mean,
you're going to eat up your profits in travel.
yeah,
Especially when you're talking about, it's not like you're on a flight and you can get on a 2-hour flight and you're there. No, we're talking about, it's a big difference between flying, out of, Tuscaloosa, Birmingham and going over to Atlanta, or going to, Gainesville.
Yeah, Florida, Texas. I mean, because
Florida, Texas, those
yeah.
schools. And then that's still a pretty much a regional, those states.
Right. Yes.
The states in the southeastern, with the exception of, probably I would say with the exception of Missouri,
Yeah,
those states almost, well, technically Arkansas and Missouri, technically touch one another. So but those states all border one another, even adding Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
Oklahoma and Texas border one another. But everybody pretty much borders one another. So I don't know. I think it's going to end up costing more money. It's going to eat into more profits than people really think about it. However,
yes, sir.
That is, as we move toward these super conferences, right? I don't know, man. I think the NCAA's days are numbered. I think they're really looking at, okay, the big boys are going to say, look, we're gonna break off and do our own thing and make our own rules.
And the Atlantic, speaking of which, had an article about that there's been some talk amongst the Power Five right now about, hey, we got to break this off, because this is where the money is. As much as we love basketball, I love track and field. And baseball is good too as well. I mean, obviously baseball is great as well, but the money is, football is where the money is. Football is where the money is.
It's where the money is. And like I said, the NCAA tournament is great. It does bring a lot of money, generate a lot of money. But football is where the money is. What I'm interested to see now that obviously the SEC was, out in the forefront, first grabbing Missouri, Texas A&M, that kind of really started things off, and then coming back and getting Texas and Oklahoma.
That shocked a lot of people.
The big making the move for UCLA and USC. Okay, what is the ACC going to do now?
Well, here's what I think. Speaking of the ACC, and I won't spend too much time on it, but it's pertinent for this part of the conversation. I think you just have to you saw what the Big Ten did. You don't want to be copycat. You don't want to be reaction. That's the worst thing you want to do in the real line business, is be reactive instead of proactive, right? So at this point, if you're the ACC, your options are like essentially try to sweep talk Oregon, Washington, maybe Stanford and Cal, get that West Coast president as well, even though it's going to be logistically stupid. But get sweet talk those two schools by saying, hey, you still mad at your boys your Pac-12 brethren who went to the Big Ten? Why don't you come over to the ACC and make this a power through? Let's go. I mean, if it had to be something big like that, because I think it won't be as much, obviously, as the Big Ten and your SEC. But I think the addition of Oregon, get that Portland market. We talk about markets like off camera. Washington, get the Seattle market. And of course, to get the Bay Area market with Cal and Stanford. that would enhance the value of because I mean, the ESPN, I'll give them this. They did one hell of a business move with the ACC. They, in addition to the ACC network and the grant of rights, they locked them in for 20 years at the time.
Yeah.
That's great for ESPN, but bad for the ACC because what happens is they can't go back to the table unless they bring in someone noteworthy, a la Notre Dame. You know, that would like further enhance, right? But I think outside of that move, bro, getting those 4 West Coast squads.
And you say that for the ACC. I mean, the same can be said of what's left of the Big 12.
Right.
Going back and looking at the what's left of the Pac-12 and saying, hey, let's see if we can make a push for these other schools.
Yeah.
To
Pac-12
do something.
is a life support, bro. I don't see Oregon or Washington sitting down and going, hey, let's sign a grant of rights. No, I don't see that shit happen. So it remains to be seen. But speaking of your beloved SEC, like basically as far as travel, you guys are the most regional conference that's left. Yeah. Because you guys it's contingent states. Yeah. Y'all touch each other. If you're Alabama, your furthest plane road trips are to Florida and possibly Missouri. Yeah. Possibly Missouri. Those are your longer trips. Yeah. Those are your longest trips. So y'all good. Y'all really don't have to add anybody. And if you do add somebody else, I've said this before in the past, I wouldn't be surprised if y'all made a push for North Carolina.
You know what? You say that I was about to bring that subject up. I'm like, if now we're going to go and look at adding a couple more teams, then North Carolina would probably be a school that I would say, hey, let's make a push for.
Because for folks to understand, sure, Clemson is Clemson is a football brand, but they're new money. That's what we call new money, right? Yeah. Carolina, that's the brand. As much as I hate to say it, that's the conference's brand. There's a nationwide fan base, especially with a basketball squad. Right. You got Jordan backing them. That's Jordan's school. They got the Jordan brand. They got that baby blue and white colors. Again, they got the nationwide fan base, right? Yeah. And since you got to take teams in pairs, schools in pairs, the second team, I think, is going to shock you. Who other things it'll take? It's not going to be who you think. It's going to be Virginia.
That's another market too. Yeah,
because they're not SEC's not Virginia, it's now North Carolina. Right. Those are 2 flagship schools, 2 of the biggest flagship schools in the ACC, and they got that rivalry going too. They got because you guys got the Deep South rivalry with the longest Deep South rivalry with Auburn and Georgia. Yeah. North Carolina and Virginia has the longest rivalry in the South. It's called 2 different things: Deep South and South. But the point is, makes sense. Yeah, so basically, if y'all, and I think y'all will, is you guys in the Big Ten are going to fight to the death over those 2 schools. Yeah, to me, the play for North Carolina is definitely something that I thought about too. I'm just like that move would make a lot of sense to me. Mm-hmm. I've even heard people say, "We'll give you, we'll give up Missouri for North Carolina." It's just like damn y'all. You guys did all right. You guys won the Eastern Crown one. Right. But I promise you guys get that Carolina and Tennessee rivalry too, and Tennessee and and North Carolina and South Carolina. Right. So it'd be good if you were the Tar Heels, aside from nostalgia notwithstanding. But yeah, so I think y'all, outside of that big move, I think you guys don't have to rush, man. You guys got the brands.
Yeah. I think they can sit back and just, make a play for, for those 2 schools if that's what they want to do, Right. Now, if you're Greg Sankey, speaking of SEC, since this is an SEC podcast, remember when Greg Sankey made the idea of a 12-team playoff
And our stupid ass commissioner, Jim Phillips,
Yeah.
like buck back, formed this stupid ass alliance with the Big Ten and the Pac-12. Look how that turned out.
Right.
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 And the crazy thing is, look for the Big Ten to look into your conference, Jim Phillips, to poach those two schools I mentioned, at the very least. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that didn't work out well too. So basically, he's a rookie commissioner. He got played. It happens, I guess, but he couldn't get played. He couldn't afford to get played to that capacity. But basically, a 12-team playoff was on the table.
Yeah.
Right. And yes, I get the fact that you had the Big 12 with y'all, you had the Mountain West with y'all, and you had Notre Dame, Notre Dame with y'all. Those are the Mountain West plays some good football too. So those are good. Those are great, like notable stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the argument would have been, and I guess that's why Jim Phillips pushed back, maybe, is because y'all would have benefited the most because you got the brands.
Right.
I mean, let's just be real. Alabama, let's just for the sake of argument. Alabama, Georgia, let's just say the 12-team player weren't fit last year. You have, besides Alabama and Georgia, I think you would have had Andy, right? So that's at least 3. And I think from where I don't have the last year's BCS rankings in front of me. I'll pull it up right now as I speak, but I think those were the only 3 teams in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going back right now, but basically you guys wouldn't have benefit as much as people would have thought. So, which is why I don't understand why those fools, those guys just said, hey, let's just show ourselves in the foot over pride's sake. And now they're in a position where, I mean, if access is not given, if it's not expanded, then there's other Power 5 conferences, Big 12, ACC, and the Pac-12 are pretty much teetering on extension. So I got the last poll here. Yeah, Texas A&M was near the top, but they finished near the bottom of the poll. So it would have been Ole Miss came in at number 8. They would have been in. And I think looking at the rest of the rankings before before bowl season,
mm-hmm.
that's it. So it would have been like 3 squads. It would have been y'all, Alabama, Georgia, and Ole Miss, according to the top, because y'all were in the top 10.
Right.
So again, that's just stupid on Jim Phillips' part, but it is what it is. But
yeah, I mean, to me, I don't get it. I mean, that's where we're headed, right? If you are talking about expanding teams, you can't keep it at 4 teams.
Right.
You just can't. I mean, if you've already made it about money, right? We all know it's about the dollars. So it's already to that point. You can't put the genie back in the bottle at this point.
Right.
So why continue to, to have this, now it's okay, the 4 best teams. Well, in most years, that means multiple teams from the SEC.
Yep.
But you're trying to find a way to keep it to 1 team from the SEC. Just expand it. And I'm not saying expanding it to, let everybody in, or give,
make the season count, right?
Yeah, or where the season still counts, regardless of how you feel about how you feel about it. And even with the NFL, the season still counts. Yeah. Not everyone gets a pass into the playoff. You still have to win. You still have to win games. You have to win games. You have to finish at the top of your division.
Right.
You get a first round bye, right? Teams play. Right. Teams still do play for a first round bye.
Right. Correct.
Because they're at home.
And home field
they
advantage.
can get a clear path. Right. They can get a clear path to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
here's what I'm
or a
thinking.
clear path to a Super Bowl, right?
Super Bowl,
These are home games. You don't have to go travel on the road to play.
Yeah, because the thing is, though, that would have been a great idea. The 12-team playoff have the first round on campus, right?
Right.
Maybe have this. People were talking about having the quarterfinals, the bowls. I was like, fuck that. Have the first 2 rounds on campus. Have the semifinals at those bowls, like the Cotton Bowl, Rose Bowl, whatever. You get the point, right? Peach Bowl, Orange Bowl,
right?
Sugar Bowl, and then the national championship, like the way it is now. So,
right. But the problem with that, though, the naysayers to that say, well, you're diminishing the bowl game, and
no one gives a shit about the bowl games anymore.
when you made it a 4-team playoff,
yeah.
Actually, really, truth be told, even when you had the BCS to an extent, the writing was on the wall when it came to the lower tier bowls.
Right. It's just a moneymaker for the small schools.
It's a moneymaker for the small schools. It's a reward for finishing with a winning record. And even the smaller schools that do go to a bowl, granted, you may not get the drawing that you think you would get, but I mean, I enjoy turning it on the TV 3rd week of December and watching football for the rest of the. Now, granted, you got guys that some guys hold out, they don't play this and that. I get that, but I still enjoy watching those games.
Yeah, exactly.
It's football.
I mean, it's football, right? It's football. But if you're going back to the conversation how it relates to the SEC tonight, Greg Sankey, again, the commissioner, came up with that idea, right? So if you're Greg Sankey now, and you see what's going on with the ACC, the Big 12, well, mainly the ACC and the Pac-12 part of that alliance. If he's as petty as I think he is, does he just say, be like, you had your chance.
Yeah.
If you get back, if you're going to get me back to the table, it's going to cost you.
Right,
or to your point, do you get like, just because it's a 12-game playoff, 12-team playoff, it's a huge money maker.
Yeah.
So in the end, money talks and like in the rest walks, as they say, right?
Yeah.
So So you think Greg Sankey's gonna be petty, or is he gonna be like, you know what, screw the pettiness, it's all about this money. I'll probably put more than 4 teams in there anyway, so let's just go.
I really do believe that's their mindset is, okay, we're gonna get more than. I mean, when it all boils down to, let's say we have a 12-team playoff.
Yeah.
More often and more occasions than not, it's pretty gonna be, it's gonna be probably 4 teams that get into the playoff.
Right.
Because I know that if you look at historically, just take this past year. You had Alabama, you had Georgia. The year before that, the year LSU won, right? The year that LSU won, we still had a situation where, even that year, Alabama would have gotten into a 12-team playoff, right?
Yeah. Right.
So even on a year where they may not necessarily, they didn't make the 14 playoff, but they still one of the top 12 teams in the country.
Right.
So you look at that aspect of it, more often than not, in most years you're going to be hard pressed to have a situation where 4 teams from the SEC don't make it into the playoff.
Yeah. Which should be pretty cool. I think they'll go back to it. I think they'll come back to the table. I think Greg Sankey will be like, you know what? I can't be mad anymore. I still sitting in the catbird seat. I'm chilling. Let's just go with the 12-team playoff. Hopefully Jim Fields will get his foot up his own ass. And let's just
because it's like you can't have the SEC making too many moves, right?
Right.
Because then they're on the forefront and they're in the driver's seat and they're making all the decisions.
Right.
So they don't want that, obviously. But then you can't stop progress either.
No, you can't. I mean, because we all know as much money as we've seen the 14 playoff make, we all know what a 12-team plus would be
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, let's just get this money. Let's just go. Stop.
I mean, because I really think, like you said, I really like the idea of having that first round game on campus,
Mhm.
right? I mean, you think about it, you get an extra home game,
Mhm.
you
Or
know,
buy.
or
Or buy,
buy,
depending on
right?
how it's set up.
Right, depending on how it's set up, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I think from a dollars perspective, I don't know. Which one would you rather have? If you're a university, you're thinking, okay, that's extra home game. Or conference is thinking that's extra home game.
Mhm.
That's more money into the, and would you, how would you split the pot, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's gosh.
Because you got a team that, okay, let's say you got a couple teams that, okay, they got to buy. Well,
Mhm.
you might have some that say, okay, well, they shouldn't get the same because they only played this many games, and no.
Maybe have similar to where it is now. Similar to what it is now. Maybe have, and it's so unfair to the small guys, but that's just like, maybe have the Power Five get like a overall cut, right? Just overall off the top cut, like they do right now. I don't have the money figure in front of me, but it's like at least $40 to $50 million a piece. And then just have the schools who participate get that extra cheddar.
Now, let me tell you what SEC does.
Okay.
Whatever money comes in, right? They split it. Okay, so we have what? 14 teams in the conference now?
Mm-hmm.
It's split 15 ways. 14 for the member schools, and then the other share goes to the SEC office.
Yeah.
So there's an even split amongst all the schools.
Mm-hmm.
So no one school does more, get more than the other, a la, Texas, Oklahoma, BS as they were doing.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah, so I'll say this, man, before I move on to my next to your coach. Greg Sankey, I thought Mike Slive was cutthroat. Sankey is a shanker. He'll shank your ass. He'll shank you. Man, that dude is just like, he's savage. I tell you, because I was like, you can't get even more. I didn't think that anyone could get more calculated.
Yeah.
Mike Slive. I mean, Greg, rest in peace, Mike Slive. But but Greg Sankey, he's savage.
You want to hear an interesting fact about Greg Sankey?
Oh, please.
Guess where he started off his college career?
Oh.
I was just going to tell you before you even. So you remember Laterno in Longview?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
That's where he started.
Yes.
Little bitty ass Laterno. What?
Little bitty Laterno. Yep.
Wow.
He's from New York, right? He's from New York.
Yeah.
So that's probably why he got that that cutthroat in him. But
dude is savage.
So yep. I read that some time ago. I'm just like, man, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. Right down the road from old school. How about that?
Right down the road. Yep.
It's crazy. Speaking of crazy, you and I talked about this as well. Off, like, not only on our own text line, but somehow, somewhat a little bit in our group meet with the rest of our college brothers. When Nick Saban said what he said at that gathering, and I guess he didn't know that someone was recording him, or he didn't care. He was just breaking the point that he needs more of the donors, the boosters, to do more in NIL.
When
he lost ground.
When he made that statement, I'm like, he's so calculating in the things that he says. It's kind of like, initially I'm like, okay, why did he say this? He wasn't necessarily trying to call out A&M per se, but I know that he's in previous conversations that I've heard him have, he talked about, is this where we really want to take things? Because you're making it okay for the shenanigans behind the scenes to go on, right? Because it's legal at this point.
Yeah,
no matter what.
above board. It's above
Right,
board.
right. Now what was under the table 5 years ago is now per the rules, right? It's legal.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that he was really calling. I'm just like, okay, and I know he's not really calling out A&M, even though they said this is what we did. And then Jimbo tried to come back and say, oh no, we didn't do that, blah 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 blah. I'm just like, come on, Jimbo. Don't act like that. You know very well the things that you guys said about, your class and what these guys signed
The oil
in
money.
this.
The oil money brought that class.
Right, that oil money brought that class. Now,
yeah.
The problem, and I'm gonna touch on this, and then I'm gonna go back.
Oh,
The problem Jimbo is gonna have with the oil money buying that class, and one of the reasons why I think Saban didn't, when he could have gone to Texas, he didn't, because they want too much control. See, when you have people writing that many, checks, spending that much money on the program, now they can tell you who play, when people play, who plays, access to this, access to that. And that was one of the things that when Mal Moore was, negotiating with Saban to come to Alabama, he was like, you got control, right? Boosters don't, they won't have any say so. And that was one of the things that was really, I thought was critical in getting Saban to Alabama, was he had full control over the program, period.
Mm-hmm.
And not a lot of schools, even schools that are winning or top tier schools, can say that still, that one man has complete control of the program.
Right.
Because I'm sure is as good as Ohio State has been, even on Urban Meyer, Ryan Day, those guys don't. They're not. It's them and that's it. No, boosters are not meddling. I mean, it may not be as bad as you would think, or as bad as it could be, but I can't think of. I mean, I can't think of any schools where, the football coaches, hey, we got football over here. You guys do what you need to do over here. I don't know that any other school, or can say that, especially from a football perspective. Now, it may be some schools from a basketball perspective that can say that. We all know,
Kentucky. They had a big spat between Calipari and Coach.
Oh, I mean, they were upset.
Yeah.
They were upset. Oh no, this is not Kentucky. We don't lose. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
I'm less like, Duke. Of course, before when Mike Krzyzewski was still coach. But it's just some schools that I could say probably Jim Boeheim at Syracuse. You got some guys and names in college athletics that when it comes to their particular sport, what they say goes, and there's no fudging around and no shenanigans.
Another example is was Roy Williams at Carolina.
Right, Roy Williams at Carolina. So yeah. So it was that I think Jimbo, I think that class looked great on paper. Yes, but then how do you motivate these guys?
Right. Because
Jimbo ain't exactly, he still got the Jameis Winston shenanigans that happened under his watch. Right. So I don't know that. I don't know. We'll see how he does this year with this class. It's different when you get him. You can sign him. You get him to campus, and then how you produce. That's a bottom line. Is okay. What do we? How do we get these guys to? They're making all they're millionaires now, but how do we get them to come together? And Shannon Sharp said something very interesting. He was talking about when his brother got to the league, and his money started coming in, and his thing was my brother's got this money, but I want this for myself. Yeah. So I want to get in the league. I want to make this kind of money, my own money. I'm not looking for my brother to. And you're still gonna have guys that are like that. They want to take care of themselves, take care of their families, and or not only that, they want to play in NFL. Sure. So I think the guys that can do that, I think they'll be successful in this new generation, because I've said all along, the cost of the scholarship isn't in terms of the revenues that they generate for the schools. It's not, especially at when we talk about Power 5 schools, right? Smaller schools, that's, let's let them go over here and, they can have their own thing. But when you look at, I wonder, I really wonder how much revenue Jordan has brought to Carolina. And I'm talking about since the time he walked on campus.
Right.
And still to this day.
Yeah.
I wonder, names like that, right? You wonder, if somebody were to sit down and try to put pen to paper and figure out how much revenue certain names bring to, to a university in terms of revenue dollars.
And I can think about this, like back in the day, how much money did Patrick Ewing, did Alonzo Mourning and Dikembe Mutombo before him bring to Georgetown?
Right, because you had those lines of of centers, and you think about that. You think about UNLV, the Running Rebels, when they had Stacey Augmon and Larry Johnson and those guys, great. When they were really thing in college basketball, or when the Fab Five was at Michigan, how much did they really contribute to the overall, because it's one thing to win, but then you have that catch name behind it, what that particular era, the Running Rebels, the Fab Five, Thigh Slammer Jammer, the guys, you have the talent, but then you have a name that goes along with it that makes it,
and speaking
really
of which,
catching.
How much money did the Fab Five bring to Michigan? Right.
That's what I'm saying. You got the Fab Five.
Yeah. So come on. So that's why I don't have a problem with these young brothers. And some sisters, and some, and black brothers, white brothers, whoever, playing football, football and basketball, and the women too. I don't have a problem with them getting their cheese, because people come to see them. How much money did the women's program bring to the UConn, right? The women's basketball bring to UConn. They come to see them. All due respect to the great Gino Auriemma, they ain't come to see you, bro. They came to see your squad. They came to see Maya Moore. What's the name of that white girl? She got hurt. Of course, she's a sophomore.
Yeah, I know you're talking about Paige something.
Paige Brokers or whatever her last name is.
Yeah.
I mean, they come to see them. they don't come to see you.
Yeah.
So I'll say this before we move on to the last part of the podcast. You and I talked about this too. We discussed who was right, who was wrong in the Big Saban Jimbo official dust up. You already know what like what I told you, but I'm gonna tell the viewer just full transparency. I originally thought that Nick Saban was being a bitch ass by talking about what Jimbo was doing, and when he brought in Deion Sanders' name, when he landed that kid Travis Hunter, when he got him to flip from Florida State. You know what I'm saying? He didn't focus on Deion as much as he did Jimbo, obviously, but he mentioned his name. And Deion had a lot to say about that back. So good for him. But I thought that he didn't have to go there. I knew why he went there. I knew where he was going and why he did it. Because to your point, he's very calculating. He's very intelligent, very intelligent old man, right? I just thought that was what Sarah Sharp calls dry snitching.
And I think a lot of people, if it wouldn't have been Deion, because some people are going to take the stance of they're going to make it racial because Saban, old white guy, and Deion, your brother.
And I don't think it was, but
and I don't think it was, but I think people did take it that way, and they they ran with that angle of it. But Saban, he is calculating. He, no one was talking about it, and it needed to be out there on the table. And there really needs to be some kind of parameters on it, right? Because you don't necessarily want it to be the Wild Wild West,
Right. Sure.
And then again, you don't, and then you got some, they call themselves purists that think that, well, these guys are getting NIL money and they're not going to want to play now. And, you can't make them do this. You can't make them do that. I'm just like, at the end of the day, you still got to stay eligible.
Right.
Right. And you got to have film in order to go to the league. Right. Exactly. And, you got some guys that, they may think, okay, well, this is it. You have to weed those guys out. Yeah. And I think the top tier schools will be able to do that, when you see guys hit the transfer portal and you wonder why, you hear they had a bad attitude, and then you look, and now they've been suspended from this school or suspended from that school. You wonder, why. Yeah. And before we get to the last part of the podcast, where we pretty much going to put our money on who's going to win the SEC West and East Division, the conference as a whole, you can also put your money on this. This is from my friends at betus.com, our sponsors. So pretty much, here we go. Listen up, sports bettors. Your favorite sports book, betus.com, is back for our 20th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, UFC, and MLB. If you're looking for live in-game betting, incredible odds with daily odds boosters, props, and parlays, we got it. How about fast payouts and exceptional one-on-one customer service? We got that too. So log into betus.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BET-US. And also you can use my promo code TKT for the Klown Times as well. So betus.com where the game begins. So let's put our money, so to speak, on who's going to win the SEC divisions and outright. So I'm looking at a list from Sporting News, like how they shaped out. And I think we may be in agreement for the most part. So first of all, let's just get the obvious out of the way. We all know that Georgia's going to win the SEC. We all know that Alabama's going to win the SEC West, right? It's a matter of who falls the line underneath that. They have Tennessee bouncing back this year big time. So they got Tennessee finishing second in the East, followed by Kentucky, which is a great story. Mark Stoops doing a hell of a job at Kentucky, dude. A hell of a job. Followed by Florida, South Carolina, Missouri, and Vanderbilt. And SEC West, of course, after Bama, we got Jimbo and A&M, Arkansas, who actually did a good job as well last year, their coach. Ole Miss, gotta love Lane Kiffin. LSU, Mississippi State, and Auburn is finishing dead last, which I know that makes you laugh out loud. So are there any, I think we lost that, but we'll make sure to get them back shortly now. Okay. So basically, we had technical difficulties, but I got my man set back. So basically what we dropped off at was basically Georgia is going to finish first in the East. Alabama is going to finish first in the West. They got A&M second. They got Tennessee finished second in the East, believe it or not. So which I know you got some petty stories about Tennessee as well. But the funniest thing is, it's they got Auburn finishing dead last. They some snitches. They low down. They dirty. They some snitches. I'm going to ask you about that after we go through this. I'm going to ask you. I want you to tell that story. But anyway, real quick. So I'm pretty sure we're both in agreement with Sporting News about the order of finish. And I think we agree that Alabama's going to get revenge, albeit not the title game revenge, the national title revenge, but still get a measure of revenge. Yeah. And beat Georgia again. I think they'll beat Georgia again. I don't know. I mean, we'll see how Georgia reacts to, their schedule probably lines up for them to, to be okay. They won't be the same team that they were last year, obviously, and is much as I don't like, making excuses when people win, it's hard. It's hard to lose your 1 and 2 receiver, right. And not finish the way that you that you want to finish. But you know,
Sure.
we'll deal with Georgia. I think it'll at the end of the day it'll be Alabama and Georgia.
Right.
You know, locking up at the end of the season in the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if Tennessee, huh?
Yeah. So we're talking about, so might as well just get to it. Basically like your Alabama's annual crossover rival is Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
So there's some history that people don't know outside the SEC about Auburn and Tennessee and why the SEC like pairs them against each other as a permanent crossover opponent every season. So give us the skinny from the Alabama fan point of view of why there's some searching and some pettiness between those two universities and fan bases.
Well, so I think Tennessee was, it probably was a more cordial rivalry. Probably until Fulmer decided he wanted to turn, snitch to the NCAA, when he was doing shenanigans behind the scenes, I think for a lot of people, especially Alabama fans, I think for a lot of Alabama fans, things went south with the rivalry at that point. And now it's just, we want to beat them 100-0 every year.
When was the last time Tennessee beat y'all? It's been like a minute, right?
Well, what was it? Is it 16? Let me see. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I'm going. Let's see. It's already a Google search out there. When was the last time Tennessee beat Alabama? 2006. So it was before Saban. It was
Yeah, it was before Saban, right? 2006, I think.
Yeah, 2006. Yeah, that was 2006 was still 2007 was his first year.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's when this first year. That's when I think it was his first year when y'all beat y'all club with Clemson. That was when Clemson had Bobby Bowden.
No, it wasn't the first year. It was what them boys they had what they call them? Was it Thunder and Lightning? Is what they call them? I'm trying to remember the boy name that CJ Spiller and remember they had CJ Spiller and what's the other boy name? Was it James James something Davis, right?
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
And I never forget, man. It was the 2008 season, I believe, right? I think it was 2008 season. It was 2008 season, and they hyping them up, and they just mollywopped them. And I remember Kirk Herbstreit was like, man, I'm thinking, it's gonna take Saban, 3 years to get this thing rolling, but look like year 2 might be the year.
And as I said, the rest is history.
I mean, I granted that year we lost to Florida in the SEC championship game, but man, after that it was just pretty much just, he was on a roll at that point. So
right, I remember that. So they have it. Yeah. So I think that's it. Wow, that went by pretty fast.
I know. I was surprised.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking we were talking for a long time, but anyway, I'm gonna have you back on here throughout the season because it's gonna be one great season in college football anyway.
Oh, definitely.
And with the hype that surrounded it, I think Oklahoma, Texas is going to come to y'all in 2024, right?
Yeah, it's
or
supposed
2025.
To be. I think 2025 is what I is
okay,
what I
2025,
heard.
right?
So yeah,
2025.
Yeah,
because I think Oklahoma, Texas will be in there for 2 more years because of the grant of rights shit. So yeah, that makes sense. But anyway, so look to be back on here, bro. We're gonna be talking a lot during the season. So.
Yeah, we will be.
Yeah, okay, man. Hey, thank y'all for tuning in. And one last thing before I close the show. Remember, my friends at BetUS.com, sports bettors, your favorite sports book. BetUS.com is back for our 28th year of NFL action, live in-game betting, incredible odds with daily odds boosters, props and parlays, fast payouts, and exceptional one-on-one customer service. We got it all. Log into betus.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-799-BET-US. Use the promo code TKT for account times. BetUS.com where the game begins. Thank you all again for tuning into the show. Please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Please check out my website, www.theclowntimes.net. I'm going to have some previews of the SEC, ACC on there real soon, so be on the lookout for that. Until next time, y'all have a good weekend. Peace out.
Peace.